right, everybody. Josh Fielder here for GAI Insights. Looking at the top news, essential, important, or optional. This is show number 475. We're in our 91st week of doing this. So bring you the AI news, putting time in your day, thoughts in your head. Today we have Tim, we have Luda, we have Ankaj, we have Paul. All right. We've got some interesting things going on in terms of new models out of our friends at NVIDIA, as well as Tom Davenport and crew talking about how you should diversify the geography of your AI thinking and more. Okay. Ankaj, will you start us out, please?
Thanks, John. So the first one that we have for today comes from NVIDIA, and they are introducing NVIDIA Nemotron 3, and they are also showcasing techniques, tools, and data that make it efficient and accurate.
All righty. What do you think here, Tim?
You know, I thought this was important. It's right. I could be talking to optional because it is a product announcement, but it's a product announcement by the leader in this field, the most valuable company in the world, last I checked. And the other thing that I thought was important here is they released everything, all the training data, all the recipes, all the code, everything to build this thing from scratch. So this is really quite something, and it uses an architecture they've used before, but they're improving on, which is this integrated, it's called Mamba in the vernacular. It really is SSL architecture, but it's technical. But it's very different from a transformer architecture, combined with transformers, combined with mixture of experts, and they've gotten excellent performance out of modest models as a result. And because it's open source and all of the data is available, it's a groundbreaking kind of release in that sense. So from that perspective, I thought it was important.
Not essential?
It's a product release. It's open source. It's a smaller model. You know, it's hard to see a company that's deeply embedded with any of the major models suddenly saying, blow everything up and go with Nemotron. So no, really can't make it essential from that perspective. It's pretty technical too. I think important is right for me.
All right, Paul?
I'm right where Tim was. I started, as you can imagine, as highly optional. I think it's important for the reasons you said. And I think it's notable. We've got, again, a chip maker that the verticalization of this stuff, chips to software to now, models and, pushing that. But, they don't have distribution, and 99.9% of AI leaders can't do anything with this.
All righty, Luda.
Yeah, I'm with Tim. It's important. And thanks, Ankaj, for scrolling to this graph. Look at the performance versus intelligence, right? The speed versus intelligence. So they are at the top over there, and that makes a big difference. So with a 1 million context length window, the small model, that performant, the speed and the accuracy, I think it's an important announcement. And I believe that the integration with the NVIDIA architecture, they train it to actually sync with the hardware. And that, I think, will make a lot of difference as well. So I think it's important.
But like a lot of things on the open model side, it's another super widget that's with no distribution.
Correct, Paul. Totally. I agree with you. And I started as optional as you did. However, we're seeing a lot of people interested in the edge, right? So at some point it would hit. And this open models availability, I really do think will spearhead this movement.
All right, Ankaj.
John, I was important on this as well. There are a few other things I think that are going on here with NVIDIA. So NVIDIA, when they started launching these open models, they were building on Llama set of models from Meta. Then they shifted to Quen set of models. And now I think they are trying to fill a gap in the open source, US open source models that is being left by Meta. And I think this seems to be their strategy, that they want to be the fourth or the fifth model provider out there. They already have all the hardware. They already are in trenches with all the model providers who are building models. They know all their secrets as well, right? Uh, I think they will emerge in 2026 as one of the major open source providers. I agree with Paul and Tim's point that they still don't have distribution, but it's NVIDIA. And once they start training it on the next Blackwell chips, their models will be much cheaper, much faster, and better than anything else that's out there open source. That's the Chinese set of models, because China doesn't have those chips and they won't get the Blackwell chips sooner. So for all those reasons, I think it's important.
And Akash, do you think maybe this is also juicing some proposals they have in front of the Department of War? Because they can say, use our chips and U.S. based open source model.
Yeah.
Well, an open source model, they have complete control over, most importantly, everything from the data on up. So they can rebuild it in the secure environments of the Defense Department if they'd like, which based on some experience I've had, is probably what they would want.
Correct. And is of high value to them.
Yes. All right. Important it is. Okay, next.
Okay, moving on to the next one. This one comes from HBR and it is titled, "Your AI strategy needs to expand beyond the US and China."
Yeah, here we have Mr. Yamakama teaming up with our friend Tom Davenport. What do you think here, Lou?
I rated it as important with a little bit of a grain of salt, right? So the message is important. Essentially, it's saying, look, we've been talking and focusing a lot on US and China being the major markets for AI innovation. But look, there are other markets, Canada, Japan, UAE, Singapore emerging, and there is the possibility that you can diversify your strategy for AI innovation in those regions, provided they line up with your strategy. So they actually go through the parameters that are important to consider and have this little table, Ankash, if you can scroll to it, that rating the countries along these parameters. So the message is, it's certainly very much your strategy dependent. So, but if you find a place where you could be native and have this diversification, that's a good thing. The reason I said with a grain of salt is, if you look at this table, why would you go to Japan, for example? It's missing a whole bunch of stuff. So those countries are really, in comparison with the US and China, are very immature, really. So you would only do it if you want to leverage and get into the market in Japan, say in robotics, for example. So that's why it's an important message, but close to optional in my book, because you can't really execute on it broadly.
All right, I heard important, talking yourself down into optional. What do you think, Ankash?
Optional, John.
All right, Paul.
Yeah, I'm optional. I'm not sure I fully agree with their argument either. I mean, I think this is about constraints and power play. So we're not talking about the hyperscalers. We're not talking about like available electricity. That's going to be a critical element going forward here. So optional.
And Tim?
Triple optional. Yep, with prejudice. I just, I thought it was all over the map. I wasn't sure what you could do with it. I suppose if you're a multinational who's never stepped out of your own country, this would be informative, but it's hard for me to believe that any significant multinational wouldn't understand this and a lot more already.
Yeah, I don't get some of these ratings, and UAE is has an issue with, no, I guess they've got energy, but the US has a problem with consumer data availability. It's like, really?
Yeah, that's
They have
right.
a ton of consumer data. I don't know. I just don't.
Yeah. Also, software doesn't understand country boundaries Very well. So there are issues, sovereign issues where they want their own AI. There are issues, as they noted, about cultural stuff. But it's just like, okay, if you don't understand that, I'm not sure you should be in the position of an AI leader.
Yeah, I think that for me, it's really about like the two dynamic clusters of the U.S. and China. It's like mega clusters and mini clusters, and so you look at a rating like Canada low on VC. Well, yeah, kind of maybe, but as soon as they need more money out of Canada, they just go to the U.S. You know what I mean? It's like that's
Right.
not how those deals go down.
Right.
Yeah,
know,
I
Yeah,
agree with
geographic clusters is, I think Paul Krugman wrote a whole book maybe on this a long time ago about the difficulty of displacing geographic clusters once they're settled.
that.
Oh, really? I have to read it. Porter stuff is cool on that. Anyway, alrighty. Optional. Sorry, Tommy. Optional it is.
Okay, optional.
Hey, moving on to the next one. This one comes from interconnects.ai, and it's about 2025 open models year in review.
Yeah, what'd you think, Akash?
So, John, what they talk about in this article is basically that 2025 is the year when open models they sort of stop being the side quest, and as we have been discussing with our clients, they are now the second pillar of AI deployments in organization. Then they talk about some of the winners here. So they say that DeepSeek R1 started all this in January 2025 with their MIT license, and that sort of helped other Chinese models well as well. And then they also highlight Qwen 3, which is now being utilized in the startup community and in enterprises as well, widely in China as well as in US, because they have a family of models and they are present in every sort of modality. It's a good small compendium of all the open source models that are out there and how they have done in 2025. So any AI leader who is looking to use an open source model in 2026 might find it useful.
So what did you come down with important on this, or what do you think?
Important. Yes, John, important.
Alrighty, important, Paul.
I was more optional. I don't have a strong view. Ankash can have my vote if he wants it.
Luda.
Yeah, maybe slightly important. I was optional. I think if the AI leader, it's a useful. I agree with Ankash. It's a useful article if you're in the market for an open source solution, but you will have to research it yourself anyway. So optional.
Tim, what do you think?
I actually thought this was important. I thought it was worth reading, and just because it's a good overview of the open source and where it's come from in the last year. So I wouldn't give this an essential, but I think it's a good overview of just how far things have come, and how and you know, while I wouldn't go out of my way to go crazy and say, oh, again, as we were saying earlier, blow up everything and go open source today. But I think you got to be aware of this. If there is, I'm going to use the Red Hat analogy again. If somebody comes along beyond Hugging Face and VLM and says, Microsoft, AWS, I'm going to host these things really powerfully, sell services against them at a much lower price where there's an open source community supporting it. That could change the world pretty quickly. Hasn't happened yet, so that's why I don't think it's crucial today, but it could. I think it's good to be aware of it, and this is a nice summary of it.
Alrighty, I came down on important as well, and he's well said there, Tim. All right, next.
Well, just one sub point to that. Matt Hicks is the Red Hat CEO. He and his whole management team here in Boston, and they are now making finally making a really big push on the AI open source. Tim, they've actually hired a person that's contacting me directly.
It's the obvious thing, isn't it? Because it's the same. Again, I don't believe it will suddenly be like Anthropic and OpenAI are out of business. I think it will be very similar to Linux and Microsoft servers in the enterprise, where there's a lot of both.
Yeah, I think very healthy for the ecosystem too. Alrighty.
Yep.
We're looking at important in this one. Next.
Okay, the next one comes from OpenAI, and it is a case study about how BNY builds AI for everyone, everywhere with OpenAI.
All right, what do you think, Tim?
I gave this an optional. I could be arm twisted into important because BNY is such a large organization and heavily regulated in financial services, and they've done a lot here. But the only example they gave of actually quantified improvement, which was interesting, but it wasn't huge compared to the size of the organization. There's some good points here, but a lot of high level stuff. So interesting, but ended up optional for me. There just wasn't enough meat on the bone.
What do you think, Paul?
Optional.
Luda?
I liked that presentation, and they walked through how they integrated it, that they have the momentum going, how it happened, how HI is involved. So there are lots of tidbits in there, but overall there was no. I agree with optional. You can learn from it, but it's really slim on detail of how they did it, and no results really, other than we have so many cases going. Yeah, so that's why optional.
Okay, where were you on this?
I was optional as well, John, due to slightly different reason. I think BNY is using multiple vendors now, so they are using Microsoft Copilot as well. ChatGPT claims that they are their client as well. They have also signed up for Gemini for enterprises. We know from our client set that two of our clients are also working with them, right? So it seems like either they are doing a lot of things which are working well, or nothing is working well for them. So just slightly sort of biased towards this one. So optional.
That's funny. Now, I started off essential on this one because here we've got a large, complex organization. They do have some economic returns, right? This notion of contract review where they've got 75% decrease in cost. I thought the organization, the Data Use Review Board, Artificial Intelligence Release Board, and Enterprise AI Council made a lot of sense. If you could do this thing at scale, and they've got, I think, over 20,000 users. Where they've got over 125 cases. I don't know. I thought it was at least important. I mean, BNY. These are. If you know anything about the custody business, which is one of their big businesses, I mean, you talk about old, bureaucratic, highly regulated, slow moving, and here we have an example of these folks trying to find efficiency. So I don't know. I could give it important. You guys have talked me down from essential, but important it is. Next.
Okay, moving on to the next one. This one comes from AWS, and it's a case study about how Harmonic Security improved their data leakage detection system with low latency fine-tuned models using multiple Amazon products.
Yeah, what do you think, Luda?
I actually rated this one as essential. I think it's a big problem still out there. How do you prevent leakage of data and even identify the buckets that you should be looking at? And what this company did, they had a solution that they are selling, cybersecurity software company, and it was just taking too long, 1 to 2 seconds, and they wanted to improve the timing. So they detail in this case how they did it, and the main key is they've trained a special model that is super small, smaller than the smaller models out there, and they really put a lot of synthetic data on the cases that you need to train on, and got it under 500 milliseconds. And the reason I'm putting it as essential is that's now available through AWS Marketplace, so you can actually use it and learn from it. So it's a good case, I thought.
All righty, making the case for essential. Akash. Okay, what do you think?
Yes, and I think, yeah, John, I was essential on this one as well. I think it highlights a few different things that are essential to an organization, right? One is how they have fine-tuned a smaller model and an open source model. I think they use the BERT set of models to do that. And then it also shows the orchestration that they have done to reduce the time to 500 milliseconds. So overall, I think it's a very good use case for someone who is moving from islands of innovation to the orchestration bit.
All right. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I'm floating to Essential as well. I've had 3 conversations this week with highly technical people who are building systems, and all 3 complain how hard it is to keep up. And I think one of the things we talk about is forwardability for Essential articles, and I think this falls into at least making sure that AI leader, you make sure the technical team this is on the radar screen.
Tim.
Yeah, I won't argue. I was between important and essential.
Yeah.
It's a good use case, and as pointed out, it really goes through the challenge of latency and both maintaining accuracy and latency. You can always improve latency. The question is, can you do it and still maintain the quality of the output? And they showed that you could. It's a road that not a lot of people today are going to go down. And in fact, it's a stage where this is after you have a production deployed product that has a latency problem. That's pretty far down the road for most people. So I had sort of thought of this as important, good one to have in the back pocket when you need it. But I don't think there's going to be a lot of people worrying about this. Right now, they're still worrying about getting accurate results and evaluations, just getting something into production as opposed to optimizing it once it's in production. And again, I don't think there's a lot of people who are going to go modern BERT on us, which is the name of the open source model they use. So this is pretty far down a rabbit hole that they did very well, and I like the case study. So I think it's an important case study to look at and learn from, but hard for me to get essential around this one.
Yeah. And Tim, to that point, maybe there's maybe only 10 of the biggest e-commerce companies are even feeling this on their in production AI-based search.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was where you are, Tim, which is this is like postcards from the future for a lot of people, right? These are not today problems.
Exactly.
To talk to, but I don't know. The other folks have convinced me we should probably raise it to essential because these issues of accuracy and performance, I think, are going to be massive. I mean, I think response time.
They are.
Yep. Well, the case study, the leakage of data is on top of minds of all security officers out there. So
but that's not what this is really about. There's a little bit about leakage of data, but that's the outcome of the application. It's, in fact, that's an assertion on their part that they're good at it.
Right. But they go through.
I agree. That's a huge issue, but and one that almost every organization has to deal with. But that's sort of a side issue for this article.
Except synthesis of the data. Tim, they synthesize the data to train the model on that particular issue. That's a bit that is also might be useful.
Right.
So
we don't know if it worked though.
I'm sorry.
If it worked, it would be super essential news.
It seemed like it did work. Okay. Anyway.
There's no proof offered.
Missouri this morning. Show me, baby. All right, I'm gonna go essential on this one. Next.
Hey, the last one for today comes from a surprising place, Zoom AI. So they have launched a new model or trained a new model, which has a score of 48.1% on humanities last exam.
Yep. Yeah, can you imagine being at Zoom and or at DocuSign and looking over at Google? It's like, oh my God, Godzilla's in my front lawn. Anyway, you and I were on this one, Akash. I was, as you say, surprising, interesting, but for me, optional. The fact that Zoom's got a sophisticated model and can do humanities last exam. I think it's interesting strategically as a software vendor, trying to add intelligence here so they can stay alive. Is my impression. So I had this one as optional. Where'd you have it, Akash?
I was optional as well, John. I think, but it highlights an interesting point that we have seen in previous weeks as well. So there was this news from Poeti, where they have this meta system in place, which helped them score well on Arc AGI. So they are doing something similar here, where they are using Explore, Verify, Federate pipeline and multi-LLM framework to achieve this 48.1% score. And I think if you look at some of the new releases as well, whether it's GPT 5.2 or Anthropic Opus 4.5, a lot of focus has been on how to train these models with RL environments which mirror the task that we are doing. So it's moving just from a model training to sort of a system training where you are using tool use along with post training of the model in different RL environments. So I think we will see more and more of this going forward in 2026, as Sam Altman has said that 2026 will be the year of enterprises for OpenAI. So I think the focus will be how to make these models more useful for enterprise going forward. So for that reason, seems important.
All right. So you're landing on important then? Yes?
Interesting, but not important option.
All righty. Paul?
Yeah, optional, impressive, but it's a coordination effort. We know this is going on, and kudos for them to demonstrating it. But we're going to have dozens of other people replicating this even better here.
All righty. Tim?
Yeah, this is the Peloton of the AI market, isn't it? It's trying to stay relevant. Stock's gone from 500 to 150 or something, and maybe this, I agree with Ankash, and it's an interesting thing in that they did a federated model using the top models. They don't have their own model. They're landing on top of it, and that's a good thing for them, because I remember when the first Zoom AI companion came out, we thought of it like the original Newton, which is going way back for most people. But let's just say it was a parlor trick. You could, the notes it took were like, what meeting was this note taker at? And it has gotten better. So to their defense, it is better, but not before Otter and Fathom and a whole bunch of other note takers sort of took the plate from them. So and maybe it's helping them retain some talent because it gives them something interesting to work on, but I'm not sure where else it goes. So totally optional for me.
And Luda?
Yeah, I rated it as optional, but it's an interesting case of what federated approach will do, right? And they measured it, so with metrics. But it's true that many people are experimenting with that. But they have to, right? For Zoom, there's a lot of intelligence needed, and that's why they're doing it, and it works. So it sounds like to them. But it's a puff piece. That's why optional.
But the other thing I want to push out, though, because I do think it's transferable to other areas, is that this is one app doing note taking, and most of you ask his ICs, I want note taking separate from core apps, because we've got note taking that you're on a Google Hangout, you want note taking, you're on a Amazon Chime, you're on Microsoft Teams, and all these incumbents trying to get into this generalized category space, I think is really, really difficult. And so
Agreed.
maybe for a company, yeah.
Agreed. And in fact, the interesting thing is, the one thing this points out is that even the hyperscalers won't collaborate at this level. So right. If Gemini is so great, why doesn't Gemini create a model that orchestrates OpenAI and Anthropic?
Yeah.
Why do they leave it to Zoom to do that?
It's an interesting question, Tim. But strategically, why wouldn't you try to get in that pole position?
Because culture, because people can't get out of their own ego in their own way. Even if it would improve their results.
Who potentially can lead in this is Anthropic. So let's see.
But
Anthropic's the vision of AWS.
Very much, and I think they'll be hard. I think any of the big guns will be hard pressed to do something like this, because they will view it as too competitive.
Yeah, it's very.
They don't want to show off anything. They don't want to even admit these other places exist, which is crazy in my opinion. It's not like people don't know.
Well, we can at least give their PR departments kudos for cooperating and press on MCP.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go for optional on this one. Ankaj, give us the top board. We have two announcements.
Yeah, one announcement today at noon is our usual co-pilot training for professionals. I encourage people to come to our website and sign up. That's 9 Pacific, noon Eastern. And we also posted, John, you want to give an overview of your excellent presentation last night at our Learning Lab, which is now available on our YouTube channel.
Sure. Last night I made the case for how AI is creating a massive cognitive surplus, what I'm calling cognitive surplus plus. And that allows for new kinds of organization competition. And if you don't become a hybrid organization soon, you're going to get you're going to get a premium if you become one, and you're going to get a discount if you don't. And there's going to be no middle ground. So there we have it. All right, folks. Have a great AI day. Look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Ankaj, Luda, and tomorrow it is.